What's up, guys? Here are my predictions for UFC Fight Night in Liverpool happening this Sunday, and it's the first card for the UFC happening in Liverpool. So when we look at this card, it doesn't look like the best card name-wise, but these are the cards I look for. Last week's card was amazing. UFC 224 was insanely good, so I'm really looking forward to this one. So we're going to start with Daniel Kelly versus Tom Breeze. Now, Tom Breeze is a very interesting prospect, and I think this is a good fight for him to make his name off. And he's fighting a more veteran fighter, not so much more experience in the UFC or in MMA in general, but in combat sports, Daniel Kelly's been around. Multiple-time Olympic judo player. I mean, this guy's been at it for a while. When we look at his whole game, of course, his best bet in this one is going to be in the clinch and get it to the ground, because on the feet, he's going to have problems with the bigger, longer, and more dynamic striker in Tom Breeze. Tom Breeze has very long, straight right hands, and he's just way quicker overall. So Daniel Kelly's game plan, usually coming to this fight, is he tries to stay as close as possible, right? So he can reinforce his clinching. But it hasn't been doing so well. He's pretty good with jabs. He's pretty good at disrupting the rhythm of his opponent, especially when he saw him fight Rashad Evans. Daniel Kelly makes his opponents look bad in there. It's really hard to get anything off on him. His defense is pretty tight. Really good at blocking overhands and all those kind of stuff. But the straight punches are the ones that are really going to get him. People throw overhands and hooks at him too much, like you saw with Rashad Evans, right? And he's able to easily block those and enter on the inside and clinch up and all that kind of stuff. Disrupt the rhythm. And in the clinch, he has excellent trips. Very strong in there from all of his experience in judo. And on top is where he really wants to be, right? Control Tom Breeze, gas out the more explosive fighter. And when we look at Tom Breeze, he hasn't fought in 2 years, right? His last fight, he lost a split decision to Sean Strickland. Very, very close fight. And I don't know why he hasn't fought since, but he was always known to be an interesting prospect. You know, he started his UFC career with 2 first-round knockouts, and the one on Cathal Pendred was insane. His precision and how fast he snaps into those right hands, that's going to be troublesome for Daniel Kelly. He's overall just a better striker. The leg kicks are going to be something he needs to seek out, because Kelly has really messed up knees, right, from his judo days. And that's why he stays in close too, so he doesn't let the opponent kick at him too much, and he can enter on the clinches if they do. Breeze is going to want to keep that distance as much as possible. Use the jab, stick Kelly at a distance, look for those leg kicks. If Kelly ever tries to close in the distance, fire down those right hands. And my prediction for the fight, I'm going to go with Tom Breeze. I'm going to go by a 3rd round TKO. I think it's going to be tough for Breeze to get anything off for the first round and a half, but then I see him starting to open up Kelly a little bit more. So then we go to Jason Knight versus Makwan Amirkhani. Now this is a very interesting fight. 2 prospects in the featherweight division. Jason Knight has kind of fell off, you know. He was a prospect. He was someone that everybody was looking out for, but now he's coming off 2 losses, right? Everybody kind of thought he could lose to Ricardo Lyons, but the way he did, it was just devastating fashion. 1st round TKO, and then he fought Gabriel Benitez. A lot of people thought a fight Jason Knight can bounce back after, right? We lost that one too. He got pretty much out-techniqued everywhere. And looking into the Benitez fight, Jason Knight seems to not take punishment that well. Man, when he got blasted through from Lamas, he just didn't seem like the same fighter. Just technically sound on the feet with his Muay Thai skills, right? He resembles a lot of Donald Cerrone. Very good kicks. His punches he doesn't have a long punching style, but they have high volume, you know? And he has a very good guard game. Now, takedowns and all that stuff he's okay at, but in this fight, I don't see him getting any takedowns on Amirkhani. Amirkhani is one of the best wrestlers in this division, so the punches and the kicks behind him are the best way to go, because if he throws kicks openly at Amirkhani, he can get taken down. The guard game is going to be the best place for Knight to find a finish on Amirkhani, so it's going to be tough. You know, Jason Knight can go for the mission controls. He has a very good high guard game. Great submissions, like triangles and arm bars, all that kind of stuff. Very long for the division as well. When we look at Amirkhani, he is extremely explosive. Like you saw against Andy Ogle, you know, his first fight in the UFC. I mean, just blasted through with a flying knee and then finished it with an uppercut with some ground and pound. I mean, he will go for some wild stuff. Very, very athletic fighter. He's not afraid to mix it up anywhere. His striking could use some work, but then again, he hasn't fought in a year, and he said that he has been training boxing and wrestling non-stop since then. He went to a boxing gym just to fix his hands, and that's going to be very interesting to see. So we don't really know exactly where Amirkhani's boxing is going to be at, but if he developed a very powerful, dynamic boxing game, Knight is going to be in huge trouble. You know, wrestling and boxing against a guy like Knight, that's not the best kind of style for Knight to face. So the takedowns are going to be there. He has very explosive double legs, and he's very good at working on the cage. And on top, he's very good at controlling opponents and keeping top pressure with some ground and pound. So my prediction for the fight, I'm going to go with Makwan Amirkhani, and I'm going to go by a second or third round TKO. I'm holding a lot of interest to see how well his boxing game has gotten. And then we go to Arnold Allen versus Mads Burnell. I think that's how you pronounce it. Now, this is an interesting fight. Arnold Allen is a guy who holds a win over Amir Khan. That was Amir Khan's last fight, coming off a 3-fight win streak in the UFC. Undefeated in the UFC right now, but he is a very well-rounded fighter. Extremely well-rounded. Long puncher, very dynamic and athletic. He has excellent kicks as well, excellent leg kicks, and that's going to be a big thing coming into this fight. Burnell is more of a grappler than anything. He has more of a grappling, boxing style. He doesn't throw a whole lot of anything else. His kicks aren't the most dexterous, so Arnold Allen's going to have a big advantage on the feet when it comes to variety. You know, he could throw anything on the feet. Good jabs, good long straights, great body kicks as well, and he has a really good ground game, great takedowns, great ground game off his back. Burnell's going to want to take this fight to the ground, pressure Allen, get Allen moving a little bit, but Allen's really good at setting traps as well for his power shots. So the slower and more predictable Burnell's going to be in trouble on the feet, but if Burnell's able to take this to the ground, that's where he can shine. You know, when he's on top. Not so much when he's on the bottom. Like we saw in his first fight in the UFC. He got controlled pretty easily and then submitted, so he needs to get on top in this fight, where he could control Allen a lot better, but Allen's really hard to control as it is. He's very good at reversing positions, and he's always scrambling, always working. Very good work ethic. So my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with Arnold Allen. I'm going to go by a decision. I think it's going to be a pretty dominant fight. And then we go to the main event. And before I get into it, I highly recommend, if you guys haven't already, check my breakdown on this fight. I go over a lot of what these two guys do and what they could do to each other, some of their openings that each other can expose. So I highly recommend you guys watch that. So when we look at this fight, both strikers, very good counter strikers. Stephen Thompson is more elusive, whereas Darren Till is more pressuring, although he is pretty elusive as it is. Darren Till, huge welterweight, one of the biggest welterweights. Thompson fights long. This is going to be a very interesting fight. It's one of my most anticipated fights of the year. I cannot wait for this. Stephen Thompson is a karate fighter. He fights differently in each stance, southpaw, more kick-heavy, distance-oriented. Orthodox, more of a counter-punching style, and he stays in the face of the opponent a lot more. He has excellent distance work, excellent kicks, excellent side kicks, excellent spinning kicks, but they all come with the right leg. That's the biggest problem with those. So Darren Till could expect them, could draw them out, could anticipate them, more so than a lot of Thompson's opponents could. So that's going to be very interesting. And the biggest thing about this fight is who's going to draw who. Who's going to draw the opponent out into the space where they can counter them? That's the biggest thing, and they counter differently. Stephen Thompson is more elusive, where he'll set traps in midst of his counter, but Darren Till is like a one-shot counter striker, right? He'll pull you one way, fire down left hands. And Darren Till can also be pretty predictable with those left hands, though. He doesn't throw a whole lot with his right side, very similar to Conor McGregor. Left kicks as well, but he's very good with posting and zoning opponents into a space with that stance. You know, he's very good with in and out movement and his pressure. And if it goes to the ground, I don't see this going to the ground. I don't think either of them can take each other down. I think Till has a better grappling game and takedown game, especially if it gets in the clinch. He's really good at tripping opponents. We've seen that in the UFC, but I don't think it's going to work too well on Thompson. So my prediction for this fight, even going through my breakdown, even after this, thinking about it a little bit more, man, I go back and forth on this one. I'm going to go with Stephen Thompson. I could be wrong, man. I could be so wrong here, but I'm going to go with Stephen Thompson. I think he's a little bit too elusive. And I think Till's style, or at least Till's predictability, with one style of attacks, you know, everything's coming off the left side. Someone as experienced and as skilled as Thompson is going to be able to thwart that. You know, you need a lot more for Thompson. You can't just have like one or two weapons. You know, you need a lot more against them. So that's generally what I'm thinking here. And I also think the movement of Thompson, the ability to stay off the cage, the ability to cut off these sharp angles and fake on Till many times, it's going to throw Till into a loop kind of, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Till is really good at faking on opponents as well, and nobody fakes on Thompson. Nobody does, so that's something else. All right, I'm going to go with Thompson, and I'm going to go by a 4th round TKO. The thing I'm thinking right now, the biggest thing that's going for Thompson in this one is cardio. He's gone 5 rounds plenty of times, and Till has shown to get tired in some of his fights, 3-round fights. And trying to chase down Stephen Thompson, Thompson's movements, trying to keep up with the guy, it's going to be pretty taxing sometimes. So I think if Thompson can survive the first 2 rounds, or not survive, but if he can make it out of those without getting caught, I think the fight's more so in his favor. So those are my predictions, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe. Okay, for my next video, I changed things up a little bit on my schedule that I posted. The breakdown took a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, and I put a lot of effort into that one. So going by relevancy, the whole technique breakdown on hooks and the different styles of them, that's going to come out probably by tomorrow or Saturday. So be lookout for that, because a lot of you guys want to know my predictions for this one, so I just decided to post this one first. Then after that, I'm going to break down one of the fights on the card, so be on the lookout for that as well. And then my podcast is going to be on Thursday for next week. There's some things getting in the way of that I can't really control, so I'm going to leave a post in the community tab so you guys can reply to questions under there. And if you guys want to tweet me any questions, my Twitter link is going to be in the description here, so tweet me anything you guys want, but make sure to hashtag them MMA meeting. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.